Hi, I'm Tiffany Raymond, class of 2010. I was a history major with a religion minor. One of my favorite stories is something I used to tell my high school friends when they would talk about going to their big universities, and they would say, I never went to class. I would just show up for the tests, and I would tell them about the one time that I decided to skip class because I was tired and I didn't really feel like going. I skipped class once. And I ran into my professor in the dining hall at lunch. She was so concerned. Tiffany, are you okay? Are you sick? You missed class today. And I never skipped again because they just know you so well, and they recognize you when they see you, and they get so concerned because they're not used to you not being in class. I am the reference and instruction librarian here at Wells College. So I knew I wanted to go to grad school when I graduated from Wells, but my initial plans fell through. They didn't work out the way that I thought they would. So I took a year off, thought about what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Just in passing, somebody had mentioned to me that I should look into being a librarian. I love books and I love talking about books. And so I was like, oh yeah, maybe that's a great idea. And I started looking into it more. It's actually a really good career to go into if you're a history major, because you're required to do a lot of reading. You're also required to do a lot of research and to do a lot of creative research. So working with primary sources and finding those primary sources, and sometimes you have to get creative into where you're looking for things. And that's essentially what a librarian does. I know a lot of people think, especially when I was a student, I heard this a lot. It's like, oh, so you're a history major, so you're going to go teach history in school. I'm really not interested in teaching. I wasn't one who was going to be like, I want to sit down in a classroom and go through what the state thinks you should know about history. We have a lot of students who go into museum studies, and I know some seniors from my class that I thesised with. Some of them went into museum studies. Journalism, if you also like to write, going into journalism with a history background is fabulous. What I do now is teach students how to find the things that they need to know and to do that research. So how to find sources, how to assess whether a source is good and appropriate to use for college paper or for life. And because I was a history major and because I was a Wells alum, I also work the archives. So I handle the archives of the college, so all the history that we collect. I knew coming into Wells that I wanted to be a history major. That was never a question for me. Loved the history faculty here. And both of my experiential learning requirements were actually around history. My first one is I worked in the archives of a museum, a local museum in Chenango. And my second one, I was a Henry Wells Scholar, so I had a scholarship to spend on my experience. So I did an archaeology dig in Greece for 6 weeks. I was so scared when I went to Greece. When I got on that plane, I was terrified. I didn't speak a word of Greek. I was sitting on the airplane, actually listening to podcasts, trying to learn how to speak Greek. I'd never been out of the country on my own before. It was such a great experience in terms of just things that I got to see, but also personal growth. That experience really taught me that I can take care of myself and that I can be a functioning adult even when I don't know a single person or the language. And I never would have done that if I hadn't come to Wells. I never would have done that without the Henry Wells Scholarship giving me some money to go. I think that in any other school, I would have just kind of taken the easier path and not done it because it wasn't required of me. Sounds horrible, but it really pushed me to go outside of my comfort zone and to try something new. And it was so scary, but it was so worth it. And I wouldn't take it back for a second.